A very good evening. You're watching India Ascends. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. The next 30 minutes, we talk about the Pahalgam terror attack, the big impact in India and around the world. But first up, as always, the headlines this week.
India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backer.
In no uncertain terms, Prime Minister Modi makes it clear that the perpetrators of the dastardly Pahalgam terror attack will be hunted till the end of the world. Army Chief General Dwivedi in Kashmir as India reviews its war preparedness, even as India moves INS Vikrant in the Arabian Sea, along with a 360-degree assessment as far as its preparedness is concerned.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
Pakistani Defence Minister makes a big global admission, says his country has been the world's terror factory for 40 years, something that New Delhi has all along said, that Islamabad is the fountainhead of global terror. India puts the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance as it looks to corner Pakistan on all fronts, diplomatic, economic and others. How this will hurt Pakistan, we decode. India flexes its military muscle as it plays mind games with Pakistan. The Indian Navy test-fired precision missile, the Indian Air Force conducting drills, even as Pakistan announced that it has test-launched the surface-to-surface nuclear-capable missile. And it's time to call out the segregated journalism that's done worldwide. CNA, the Singapore state broadcaster, has the gumption of tampering India's maps. Such media outlets are fomenting terror and helping terrorists. We tell you why. Our big story tonight, viewers. A rattled Islamabad is rattling its rusty nuclear sabre again. Tonight on India Ascends, we will expose the hollow bluster that is behind Pakistan's nuclear bogey. But before that, I want you to hear the admission by the Pakistani Defence Minister, Khwaja Asif, about the terror factories that Islamabad has been creating in this interview to Sky News. Listen in.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
So for decades, Pakistan pretended to be a partner in peace while nurturing these fires of jihadist terror. They made big bucks off the US aid during the Cold War, backed jihadists in Afghanistan, and then doubled down, exporting this to Kashmir and to the rest of the world. But what does this tell? It tells that there is no requirement for any other proof, because you can hear the defense minister yourself to talk about the handiwork of Pakistan, Pakistan's own defense minister admitting that this is the kind of dirty work that Pakistan does. But that's not all. There is more in this interview with Sky News' Yalda Hakim. Listen in.
Because we have nothing to do with there is no, Lashkar-e-Taiba does not exist in Pakistan anymore. It is extinct. It is extinct. How can it get producing?
So now Pakistan is denying the very existence of Lashkar-e-Taiba, the terror organization that is responsible for this and many such terror activities and terrorist attacks, even as the Indian Army has shot dead Lashkar terrorists. Indian Army is now hunting and will not stop till all terrorists and terror modules are eliminated. But while India is busy cleaning up, India is deciding its next course of action to give an appropriate response to the terror attack. What is Islamabad doing? In a desperate attempt to try and create some sort of correct optics, Pakistan announced that it will conduct a missile test fire, a surface-to-surface nuclear-capable missile from the Karachi coast, not in defense, but in desperation and in denial. But make no mistake, India's preparations are in full swing, from stationing its aircraft carrier to the war drills by the Indian Air Force. It's a 360-degree prep. The days before Pahalgam massacre, Pakistan Army's chief, in fact, even went on to glorify the jihadist ideology. The message is clear that terror isn't just fomented, it's celebrated. Islamabad's nuclear posturing is nothing but a last-ditch gimmick from a regime that can't treat its sick or feed its poor or feed its people. Bharat will not bow, not to terror, not to threats, and certainly not to failed states that are hiding behind false bravado. So it's been 48 hours and India's diplomatic news is now tightening. Every Pakistani national on SARC visa has been ordered to leave. Military advisors at the High Commission have been shown the door. New Delhi's message is unmissable. Enough is enough. That 48-hour window that was there now has expired. Only those with medical visas have that window till the 29th of April to leave India. Everybody else, that 48-hour window has expired. All right, let's now move across and get some important update, given the fact that there has been fresh updates coming in from Uri, from line of control, where my colleague Shiv Arur has been standing by, giving us all the details and updates about what is happening in the aftermath of the preparations that India put in place, the messaging that it has sent out to Pakistan and to the world. Shiv, explain to us, talk to us about what is it that you are seeing right now on ground on the LOC, which has now, of course, heated up.
Gaurie, good evening, and to all of your viewers as well. The overwhelming sense is that something big is afoot, something big is going to happen. I think everyone agrees that after what the Prime Minister said in Bihar a couple of days ago, plus yesterday, in fact, adding to it all the punitive measures that have been announced by the Indian government and covered by you on NDTV World, it seems very likely that what comes next is going to far exceed any response or retaliatory actions India has taken in the past. And of course, I'm talking about the Uri surgical strikes and the Balakot air bombings. I'm just traveling, I'm on the road back to Srinagar from LOC Uri, where I spent the day, with an army formation at the line of control itself, speaking to people. Obviously, we're not going to quote them, but I can tell you the army chief was in Srinagar today, where he got a real-time update as far as military preparedness is concerned. Remember that whatever big kinetic or military action India may choose to take in the near or medium-term future, the army is going to play a very big role in it. And in the aftermath of Pahalgam, considering all the sabre rattling that you talked about from the Pakistani side, the muscle flexing that they're trying to do on the line of control where I was a couple of hours ago, India has seen all of that. This is all old stuff. This is boilerplate protocol for Pakistan. Small little ceasefire violations, using small arms, launching a nuclear-capable missile, etc. This has been done before. I think this time, the only thing that's different this time, Gaurie, to close that thought, is that the red line of Pahalgam that was crossed a couple of days ago is a red line that Pakistan still hasn't completely appreciated. They still haven't understood the line that they've crossed. And I think that's going to be the biggest reason why whatever is coming up is going to catch them completely by surprise.
Indeed, Shiv. And since you are there on ground zero, talk to us about the fact that this time around the entire LOC seems to have seen some sort of this ceasefire violations through the day. Explain to us the significance and the difference, if at all there is any, from last time.
Indeed, ceasefire violations, as you yourself know and you've reported, Gaurie, are a fairly routine feature along the line of control, the 740-kilometer line of control, despite there being a ceasefire between the two countries. And that, of course, has remained one of the biggest bilateral ironies. The fact that we have a ceasefire, but in no place is a ceasefire more violated than the LOC. Last night was special because it came a few hours before the Indian Army chief actually landed. It came a few hours after the Prime Minister had made a speech that Pakistan has obviously interpreted as very provocative. It was hard talk beyond what Modi has ever sounded like before. That I will give to him. These ceasefire violations have to be seen in that context. Ceasefire violations by themselves are not really such a big deal.
Yes.
But when Pakistan army posts were basically using machine guns and small arms fire to light up the entire line of control last night for over half an hour. And where I was in LOC Uri just a short while ago, the sustained fire went on for more than an hour according to the people that we spoke to. So there are psychological mind games at play here, Gaurie. This is them using speculative fire to see if there is a response from the Indian side in order to generate a kind of perverse intelligence to see if Indian army posts have moved since Pahalgam.
Yes.
But I think more than anything else, it's also to try and tell India and to tell the world that we're not down and out. Our military is not cowing down after Pahalgam. We're ready for any action you take. Obviously, things are very different this time.
Absolutely, they indeed are. Thank you, Shiv, for bringing us that perspective and that detail from Uri, where on line of control, where Shiv Arur is reporting from, giving us a sense of what Pakistan's response is, as they have been in the past, nothing different this time around as well. But now let's shift focus and understand the larger impact of this in terms of global experts who will be joining me, Lisa Curtis and Daniel Markey, to talk more about, as I said, the larger impact of this, if we were to look at it from what could be India's options going forward, what all is at play here. Thank you so much, both of you, for speaking to me. Both of you understand South Asia very well. You understand India-Pakistan dynamics very well. And Lisa, let me start with you as someone who's been was so involved in the previous Trump administration. Talk to us about how do you see the Trump administration's support for India, something that one saw immediately after the attack with the phone call, the correction that was made by the US State Department to the New York Times report, all that putting in perspective the amount of support or alignment that the Trump administration has right now with Prime Minister Modi when it comes to war on terror. What can we expect there? What is the kind of leeway and elbow room that India has there?
Well, I think that's right. I think we can expect more solidarity, more support from the Trump administration with the Indian government. Already before this terrible terrorist attack, the U.S. Had been signaling its interest in enhancing relations with India. Vice President Vance's visit there signaled how important India is to the United States and its policies moving forward. So I think that this terrorist attack will only bring the two countries closer. Both of our countries have experienced Islamist-inspired terrorism. So I think that I see continued support for India. But at the same time, I think the U.S. needs to strike a careful balance of showing support to India, condemning strongly the attack, but at the same time, counseling restraint, because nobody wants to see a conflict erupt in South Asia. Obviously, India feels the need to retaliate. It's already done so by suspending the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, of course, this is unlikely to have an immediate impact on Pakistan's economy, but over the long term, this could have a tremendous impact. India could begin to build structures on its side that would prevent water flowing into Pakistan. Pakistan itself has called it an act of war. So India has retaliated. And we do hear Modi talking about terrorist camps on the other side of the border, which I think, concerns people that India may be considering some type of retaliation like we saw in 2019. But the problem with that kind of retaliation is it sends you up an escalation ladder that neither side would be able to control. Okay. And in 2019, I think both sides got lucky in a way because the Indian pilot that survived the dogfight was then, turned back over to India as sort of a peace offering and allowed that situation de-escalate. We don't know what can happen this time if things escalate even further.
All right, Lisa, let me then quickly get a word in from Daniel as well. India has exercised restraint. The options and the immediate responses that have been taken so far by India have been very calibrated, calculated, but at the same time hitting where it hurts the most. You mentioned Indus Water Treaty that's been kept in abeyance right now. Impact will be felt in some time, but that's just one of the measures that India has taken so far. Daniel, what do you expect could be the next, given the fact that what next is something that many people are asking right now in the region?
Well, the first thing to recognize is that India actually enjoys a great deal of international sympathy and support on this issue, particularly when framed as having been an attack on innocent civilians, tourists. There's no question that the world generally is aligned behind India, and India has a lot of friends on this. But as Lisa pointed out, it does look like India's next step beyond putting the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance is some sort of kinetic military operation against Pakistan. And this is certainly understandable. India is angry. And we have seen other states like Israel also be angry after horrific terrorist attacks. But I think there are lessons to be learned, even from the Israeli case, about the dangers of entering into military operations where the end is not clear from the start. And as I look at the Pakistan problem, the depth of that problem is extreme. There is not an end to that problem through easy military action. Otherwise, India would have already undertaken that. India has tried a lot of different steps with Pakistan. Few of them have had any significant success. So as India entertains military operations as options, which I think is normal under the circumstances, the question is, what do they expect to get? How can they end that military campaign in a way that leaves India better off than when it started? And right now, I don't see any easy answers to that question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lisa, which brings me to ask you another important aspect of this entire conversation is the Simla Pact that has been mentioned. Do you see that this was, of course, after the 1971 war, and the impact do you think that will have on the bilateral relationship from an India point of view, from New Delhi's point of view? Do you think that could allow India to be able to explore more options?
Well, I think Pakistan has said that, it has the right to suspend any and all treaties, including the Simla Pact, which would be, I think, quite dangerous. This is a very important agreement between the two countries, and removing it obviously would be very dangerous on both sides, in terms of both sides would have, options to try to, change borders through military means. So I think that would be an extremely dangerous step. I think, the most helpful thing that we have seen from the U.S. side, I think in the last, 25 years or so, was after the Kargil crisis, the U.S. really changed its position to respect for the sanctity of the line of control that divides Kashmir, essentially making that the de facto border. And so this is something that's very important and sort of inherent in the Simla Pact. And so removing that, I think, would be a major step back in the relationship between India and Pakistan. All bets would be off. And, it does seem like it would be a precursor to another war in the region, which, nobody wants. Nobody wants to see war break out between two nuclear armed states.
All right, I'll leave it there. Lisa Curtis and Mr. Daniel Barclay, thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking to me on India Sense, on a story that we'll keep coming back to. In fact, on that note, I'm going to slip into a very short break, come back on the other side with lots more, including breaking updates coming in from Ground Zero. Stay with us. All right, you're watching India Sense. We now take a look at the Indus Water Treaty, that India has put in abeyance. And this report tells you why that could actually have catastrophic consequences for Pakistan if that remains the story.
Indus Waters Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism.
India's response to the Pahalgam attack is cold, calculated, and potentially catastrophic for Pakistan. For over 6 decades, the Indus Waters Treaty kept the water flowing. But now, that flow may stop. India's river system feeds Pakistan's fields, but if the taps turn off, the damage could be irreversible. With inflation at 38.5%, interest at 22%, and reserves drying up, Islamabad is teetering. Now imagine that without water. Crops will fail, food prices will spike, and millions may even struggle for drinking water. And there's no backup. Only 10% water shortage, no recourse in the treaty, and the World Bank at best a paper tiger. India played fair for 63 years, but bad faith has its price, and 247 million Pakistanis may end up paying the price for the ISI and Pakistani army's terror activities.
As I said, breaking news coming in on the broadcast. On your screens is the post by Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, and posting there on the X platform saying that we stand in solidarity with India in the wake of the horrific Islamist terrorist attack targeting and killing 26 Hindus in Pahalgam. My prayers and deepest sympathies are with those who lost a loved one. She's tagged Prime Minister Modi and said, with all the people of India, we are with you and support you as you hunt down those responsible for this heinous attack. Extremely important message coming in from Tulsi Gabbard, a key member of President Trump's administration, backing Prime Minister Modi and his resolve to hunt for the perpetrators. He said that. We played that soundbite for you as well. And this message is exactly what we were talking about before we slipped into that short break. The backing that India has, Prime Minister Modi has, from the Trump administration. Moving on. Global media skews the Kashmir terror attack reality. It has, in fact, the map manipulation is another such effort by CNA, the Singapore state broadcaster. Why is it that Western media tries to sanitize terrorism when it comes to India, which has been facing this for over 30 years? This report tells you the story in detail.
Pahalgam, that's a scenic town in Jammu and Kashmir. The Resistance Front, that's a militant group, has reportedly claimed responsibility.
It started with the map. Singapore state broadcaster CNA aired this.
The Resistance Front, that's a militant group, has reportedly claimed responsibility.
A map of India, missing parts of India. No borders, just bias. Not a glitch, not a message. Because when you change the map, you change the meaning. And from there, everything else followed. On April 22nd, the pine-scented air of Kashmir's Pahalgam turned metallic with blood. 26 innocent tourists slaughtered. And yet global media painted over it. Gunmen, militants. As if vocabulary can soften terrorism. As if redrawing lines makes the blood invisible. When bombs go off in Boston, Brussels or Paris, we don't wait to say terrorism. But in Kashmir, the word gets diluted. The act becomes an ambush. The terrorists, insurgents, militants, or even gunmen. Each phrase, a scalpel cutting away the truth. Each headline, another wrong map, not of land, but of morality. Even the US House Foreign Affairs Committee had to set the record straight. But the lies weren't just in words, they were also in the designs. In every altered border, in every map that omits reality and amplifies propaganda. Because when Pakistan exports terror, some in the West import excuses.
Viewers, that's all the time we have on this edition of India Sense. Thank you so much for watching this very special edition.